Hello, how are you? How are you doing? I am Matematicas Congraheda, and I am a math teacher. Throughout my academic and professional life, I have used Casio calculators. Recently, I realized that Casio had implemented this new feature, if I may call it that, which is that now you can have your calculator both physically and digitally. And the cool thing about this is that you can get that digital calculator or emulator, whatever you want to call it, just by purchasing a calculator. Obviously, it has to be an original Casio calculator for you to be able to access this platform. Honestly, I loved it because there are times when, for example, when we're teaching a class, we want to show the students a result or tell them which buttons they need to press. So, if I'm here, for example, teaching my students, it's complicated for me to show them the calculator like this. Let me turn it on. It's complicated for me to show them the calculator like this. Sorry, I wasn't pressing anything. So they can see which buttons I'm pressing. Sometimes it's hard to see clearly. So for example, I use this platform a lot because I can just share my screen, and that way the students can see which buttons I'm pressing, and they can also check the results. So I found it really interesting, and I want to share it with you because I think it can be very useful for us, for example, when we don't have the physical calculator or when we're teaching a class remotely. So this time I'm just going to give you a short tutorial on how this platform works. Look, the first thing you need to know is the following. When you have just bought a calculator, it's important that you then go to the ClassPad website so you can download your emulator, meaning you can create an account. It's quite simple to create it. Here, it's the same. Since it's easier for me to show you directly here on the emulator, I'll tell you which buttons you need to press. But just keep in mind that what I'm going to do on the emulator is the same as what I would do when I first take out my calculator, okay? So look, imagine I buy my original Casio calculator. Then I take it out of the package, and then we turn it on, right? Remember that you turn it on with this button. Okay, I'm pressing it here. All right, the calculator is now on. Once we have it turned on, we're going to press the next button. Again, I'm going to do it directly here on the emulator, okay? We're going to press here where it says Settings, and then we're going to scroll down to where it says Get Started. So we press it, and I want you to see that a code is already showing up here, and there's also a QR code appearing. Here, for obvious reasons, I'm going to have to cover my code, but as you can see, the code would immediately show up on my calculator. So once I have the code on my scientific calculator, I just need to use my phone's camera to scan that code. And then the steps will appear, so you can have your emulator via, how should I say it? Via the internet. Or, well, your emulator on the computer or mobile device that you're using, okay? So as you can see, it's pretty simple for us to have an account directly on this platform called ClassPadMap. Look, here's the name, ClassPadMap. So, as I was saying, let me click here on Home. We could already use the calculator. Look, I want you to see that it's exactly the same. Look, I clicked here where it says Home. I'm going to click here too, where it says Home, and I want you to see that it's exactly the same. It works exactly the same, okay? So, I can work with it just like that. See? Here it already says Calculate. Over here it says Statistics, Distribution, sorry. Here it would be like spreadsheets, tables, equations. I keep scrolling through equations, complex numbers. Here is where you can do base conversions, matrices, vectors, ratios, and this little box called MathMatBox, which is for you to work with dice and coins. In this video, I'm not really interested in going into any of the functions, but rather that you get to know this platform well. So I wanted to show you first that, as you can see, the calculator works quite well. Look, here I'm going to click OK. And now we can do the operations, right? 5 times 6 equals 30, or I don't know. Maybe I want, for example, to get the prime factorization of the number. So I click on the math box. See the math box? Distribution. Sorry. Notice that it shows exactly the math box. The factorization of 30, which was 5 times 6. So it was 2 times the factorization of 5. So I can do a lot of things, right? So that's everything the calculator has. But also, this emulator, I want you to see that it has other little things that I think are important for us to click on so we can discover them. For example, some of the most important ones in my opinion are this one, which says pop-up screen. So I'm going to click on it, and as you can see, I can make it a little bigger. Look, for example, even up to here. This helps me so that when I'm, for example, sharing my screen with the students and I want them to clearly see the results, it will show up big for them here. So here, for example, I can do more operations, like let me click more, 3, then we hit execute, and then, I don't know, let's take the square root of this. So I erase it and put square root of what I had previously on the screen, which here shows up as ANS, and I click execute. Now it's telling me it's the square root of 33, right? Well, we could change this to decimal just by clicking here. So, as you can see, everything that's showing up on the display is also showing up here in large. So, this is one of the functions I like the most, because this way I can clearly show what should be appearing on the display. And definitely, on the physical calculator, I can't do that, right? If we don't have good eyesight, it can be a bit of a struggle. But you see that here it shows up really big. And honestly, it's very convenient, especially for those people who can't see well when the letters are small. Well, another super important thing I consider, let me make this a little smaller, is the following. Look, see, it's this little button. We click it, and as you can see, this text box appears here. So, let's try putting something in. For example, let's give an instruction. Solve the following quadratic equation, for example. So, we already have the instruction here, and we could enter the equation. As you can see, we have space here to enter equations. So, I'm going to click here and see how it brings up another menu where we can already enter numbers, but in a different format, right? So, let's see. Let's enter a quadratic equation. For example, let's put x. Let's raise it to the power of 2. X squared, I move over. Now let's put, for example, plus 5x plus 5x. And then plus 6. So, it would be plus 6. And let's say that's equal to 0. Equal to 0 done. We click run. I want you to see that here. It's even changing the format for me. And here, well, we have more things that we could do, right? I mean, for example, I can select this, and we can click here to choose to change the font color. Well, I think I didn't pick a very good color. So I'm going to go back, and instead, let's select the outline on this one. Let's see. Here, we'll make it yellow. That looks a little better, right? All right. So there we have the instruction. And for example, if we were teaching or studying the topic of quadratic equations, we could take the opportunity to tell the student which buttons they need to click. But notice that here, we already have the instruction, and we could also start taking some notes directly here. So, just out of curiosity, I'm going to show you right now how this would be solved. We're going to click here where it says Home, then we're going to scroll to where it says Equation. Click OK, and here we're going to click where it says Polynomial. So, we select Polynomial. Since we want quadratic, we're going to click OK, and then just enter the coefficients, which in this case is x squared plus 5x plus 6. It should give me -3 and -2, right? Let's see. Let's click it. It's telling me that x1 is -2 and x2 is -3. So as you can see, I could be working and directly taking my notes. Also, something really important is that I can add a lot of notes. I mean, I put one there, but if I click again, you can see it gives me space to add another one. Here, I move down a bit to avoid piling them up, but I will actually stack them a little. I'm going to make it a little smaller. There, look. And for example, I could change the color of the note. For example, I'm going to make it green. In case I suddenly want to have different notes on the screen, I can keep adding different notes and giving them different colors. All right, let me delete this note and also this other note right away. So I can show you another one of the buttons that I think are pretty interesting. In this case, I'm going to click on this one that says Conics. We click it, and as you can see, it tells me, well, it's asking me what I want: rectangular coordinates, polar coordinates, or parametric equations. I'm going to click here on rectangular coordinates, and now we have to choose whether we want a parabola, a circle, an ellipse, or a hyperbola. All right, I'm going to click here on this parabola option, for example, and let's see. Let me move over here a little bit. I'm telling you, it appears really big, and then, so it doesn't get in the way of what I already have, it moves it down. Look, here it's already showing me y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. So here, I already have the option to move, or, well, adjust to change the values of a, h, and k. Here, remember that if we change AEA, the parabola will simply become either wider or narrower, or it will flip, right? So let's try changing a. Let's move it. Okay, there I am. Well, it won't let me grab it. There it is. Look. Here we are, for example, making it narrower, because I'm increasing the value of a. Right now, for example, let's put a negative value. See how it flipped? And well, here we can play around with the values of a, which correspond to this expression. Now we can also play around with the values of h. In this case, h, notice that it's the value inside the parentheses here. So this will make it move to the left or to the right, right? So let's do the same thing. Here it's a little tricky for me to hit it. There it is. Look, it moves either to the left or to the right. And finally, let's move the values of k. Here it's the same. Let's see. Here I go. Here I go. It doesn't want to. It doesn't want to. Let's see. There we go. It's just that I couldn't grab it. There it is. Look. Now I'm moving the values of k too. And as you can see, it's shifting up and down. Well, this way, let me close this now. This way, you could be exploring, like I said, all the functions it has. Personally, I mean, if you ask me, the one I use the most is the one I have activated right now, which makes the display bigger, and also the notes one. But, as you can see, there are other different options, so you can try them out and figure out what they might be useful for. For example, here I click directly on this one that says geometry. And as you can see, sorry, it also has different options for you to explore. The truth is that it's pretty interesting all the things we can do in this application or this emulator called Class PadMat. Well, I just wanted to show you this. I hope the video was helpful and, above all, that you liked it. If you want me to make a much more detailed tutorial about a specific function, please let me know down below in the comments. See you next time. Take care and behave yourselves. Bye.